Hello everybody, Crips here, and yeah, thanks for joining me. Don't know why, but you do. Okay, so you've finished your project, you're happy with it, you've got all your effects or the bells and whistles to it. Now you need to export this. You might want to export it directly to YouTube or whatever it is. Either way, you still need to know how to do this. So here we go. So let's just use a project. I have it here. We go up to Composition, Add to Render Queue. Now I'm not sure why it says here Control M is a shortcut, but in reality it's Shift Control / and let me highlight the clip first. Shift Control / and that adds it into my render queue. If you know why that is, leave a comment below. But otherwise, it's Shift Control / The / is the key with the question mark on it. Okay, so now that we are in the render queue, now also keep in mind I have two projects here. I can add both projects at the same time to the render queue. In other words, I don't need to work on this one, render it out, close it, and then work on the next one. No, I can add as many to the queue as I want, because all it will do, if it's in the render queue, it just renders out one and then moves down the line, okay? Right, so there are three settings or three options we have in here. Option 1 is the output. Click on the yellow orangely looking letters and it just tells you, well, where do you want it to go once you finish? Then you just choose the location. So that's pretty simple. But these two here is what you should be concerned about. Say best settings. Again, click on it once, you get greeted with a new window. All right, quality best. Always leave it at best. You're never going to use draft or wireframe. And resolution. Now resolution is quite interesting. Now if you're working on a project and you're just dying to see what it looks like, but you know, time is a factor, you can change the resolution size, say down to quarter, so you get still see it but not in high quality. Because why? Well, what it does, it changes the file size from 1280 720 down to 320 by 180. So you still get to see it, but you're just going to see it in a different size. If not, if you're happy with everything, obviously just stay in full. All right. Now time span is also something you want to keep an eye on. Right now, by default, it's set at worked area only. In other words, you may have trimmed something and you have a 1 minute clip and you're working on something and for some reason you did 5 seconds. And when you render it out, it's really just going to capture that 5 seconds. So you need to make sure that you have the length of the comp. So if the whole length of your effect or whatever it is 1 minute, it will render out the whole 1 minute and not that 5 second clip that you worked on. It depends what you're after, right? So always leave it that. But by default is on work area only. If we go up to here, we go up to effects, okay? Now you may have multiple effects and you may have turned one or two off. And you can do that. You can have them all on or all off. Why? I don't know, but that's up to you. With the current settings, what that means is, let's say you've got 5 settings, but you've actually turned 2 of them off because you needed to see something. Well, that means it's not going to render all those effects out. So all on, or just make sure that all your effects is actually highlighted with the eyeball on. So in other words, just pay attention to that and that should be okay. And then you press OK. Second one here is lossless. And here is really where all the magic happens, okay? Format. This is the file or video format. If I expand this, I have quite a few options. Now, you got to remember this. Just because it says MOV, which is QuickTime, these are just the extensions. It's not the codec. The codec is the key to your videos. It's a wrapper. It contains the audio and the video in a container with an extension of MOV. Because quite often people say, "Oh, I have MOV." I always reply, "Yeah, but what is the codec?" Right? Now, codec stands for compression, decompression, I think. Okay. Now, once you have picked the format you want, so I'm going to, I like using QuickTime, but honestly, most these days, even YouTube will use H.264. The reason why you do this is very high quality, yet it makes a very small file size. Very, very popular these days. It's almost the same quality as Blu-ray. So there you go. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to pick QuickTime, and then I'm going to go here to Format Options. And now I can choose the codec that I want. So I have a whole bunch of codecs to choose from. Now, uncompressed is a file that's going to become really, really massive, okay? A lot of guys will actually use animation. It's kind of like it is an uncompressed, that's a video file that's slightly uncompressed. It still retains really, really high quality. And then again, I still have the option of H.264 here, so I might choose that and press OK. Okay, now let's say I worked on the green screen and I just want to export the footage without the green screen on the back. What do I need to do is I go here into channels, and I'm going to select RGB alpha. Oh, I can't do that because I've selected H.264. Let me change this one to JPEG 2000. I'm not going to go in detail why. All right, go back into channels, RGB alpha. Now, once you have that, make sure that your depth is millions of colors with the plus sign, because you also have millions of colors without the plus sign here, right? But you got to make sure it's millions of colors with the plus sign, and then when you render it out, it's just going to render out in a transparency or the alpha channel. Very, very important here. Now, I can't stress this enough. Make sure if you have audio, you check this box down here. By default, it's off. So if you got a couple of minutes video and you've got lots of sound effects and lots of effect, it may take an hour to render out. And if you find at the end you've got no audio, you're going to curse yourself because you forgot to tick this box, right? And then you have options of choosing mono, stereo, and the bitrate, 32, 16, and whatnot. And that, my friend, is all we need to do. Once you are happy with all your settings, press OK, and then just go over here to the render button. And once you're done that, like I said, if you've got multiple comps, doesn't matter, hit the render button, and it'll just render it out one after another. And that, my friends, is all there's to it. And as always, thanks for watching.